G'day, battlers, and we are back to dive into another brand new meta coming to the Go Battle League in this upcoming week as a part of the Psychic Spectacular, and that is the Psychic Cup. It's a pretty easy one to understand. Psychic types. If it's got the Psychic type, it's in the cup, except for the one ban that is Mew. Mew is banned because it has access to Shadow Claw, so it would basically be doing super effective damage to the entire meta. A little bit overpowered, plus it's got access to almost every charge move in the game, so it would just be way overpowered. So Mew has been banned. Everything else, if it's got the Psychic typing, it's eligible. It's actually really easy to search in the game. You just type in Psychic and everything shows up. But without further ado, because there isn't much more to say about that, let's jump into the simplified infographic and thumbnail. Okay, so we've got sort of a main four in a bit of a box over there, and then we have some more side picks below us as well. We'll talk about the main box, and then we'll talk about the side picks and why you might want to consider these on your teams as well. So, four groups here. In the top left, we have Alolan Raichu. In the top right, we have Medicham and Malamar. Sort of an anti-steel-ish group, because in the bottom left, we have the Steels, which is the Bronzong, the Metagross, the Jirachi, and then we also have Galerion, Slowpoke, and Victini that sort of slot into that group as well. And then in the bottom right, we have the Fairy types, so Galerion Rapidash and Gardevoir. And straight away, I'm going to tell you, don't assume the movesets of these Pokemon, because if you haven't looked at like PvPoke or you haven't really looked at the Sims yet, you're probably going to be really surprised. So I'm going to go through the main box and all of the wacky movesets that are running here. And I'm just to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Jirachi. Usually Jirachi has only ever been used as a confusion user in Pokemon Go PvP. That's almost always what it does. But when you're in a Psychic Cup, when nothing really cares about psychic damage and there's no reason to run confusion, what else do you run? What other fast move did Jirachi even have? What is it running in this cup? I'll give you 3 seconds to guess. It's Charge Beam. It's running Charge Beam as a fast move because it charges up fast. You get to some Doom Desires that hit to things really fast. It's weird. This entire cup's movesets are weird, and there'll be more examples of that as we go. But we have those Pokemon that are generally, because of their Steel typing, not beating the Fairy types. Steel, super effective against Fairy. Fairy not doing much back to the Steel types. And then we have the Fairies beating the Medicham and Malamar. Malamar because it has the Dark typing, and Medicham because it has that Psychic typing. And then Raichu is, to be honest, Raichu probably could have gone in the side picks instead of sort of finding its way into this box. But let's talk about the other stuff that is going on, because yeah, that sort of main triangle of Fairies beat Fighting in Dark, beat Steels, beat Fairy is pretty straightforward. So, Malamar is going to be one of the meta-defining Pokemon in this cup because it has access to Foul Play. It's going to get to those Foul Plays really quick, and is basically going to hit the entire meta for super effective damage, with Psycho Cut getting to it pretty spammy. So it's definitely going to be a very big Pokemon. Expect most teams to be running Malamar, and it's really going to force everyone to run some sort of a Malamar counter, whether that's in the form of Malamar itself, or whether it's running the Fairies, or it's running one of these other side picks that might also do quite well up against Malamar. But it's really going to be a Pokemon that is sort of built around Medicham. Not as good, but it's really bulky, and that sort of lets it push through a lot of matchups. Really shouldn't run Psychic in this cup, so you'd probably run Ice Punch, and I guess you could run Power Up Punch if you wanted. There's also some room, potential to run Dynamic Punch if you sort of felt that way, but probably don't run Psychic, just because, again, same reason why Jirachi isn't running Confusion. No real reason to be running that in this cup. Now, the bottom left group is the one where the movesets really do get wacky. Obviously, we've already mentioned the Jirachi with the Charge Beam. Bronzong is also not running Confusion. Does anyone out there know what moves Bronzong has? It's Feint Attack. It's running Feint Attack as a Dark type fast move. It's the Dark type, so Dark is super effective against Psychic, so obviously that gives it some clear benefits. It's still not a great move, but it's better to run that than nothing. And then you kind of want to run Heavy Slam, Payback as the charge moves. Payback because it gives you that big Dark type damage that can, again, basically hit everything for super effective. And then also you want that Heavy Slam just so you can sort of hit into the Fairy types that are around for that big super effective damage. And it's got that same type attack bonus from Bronzong Steel typing, so it does okay in that regard. I've also got Metagross, which is actually not a wacky moveset, and it's probably worse than Jirachi and Bronzong in my opinion, but it does have access to Meteor Mash, which is definitely a really strong move. Plus it has access to Earthquake, so that's going to be really good up against the other Steel types if you sort of want to go that way. Also really good to fight back against that Alolan Raichu if you do see that one running around as well. Then we've got Galerion Slowbro, who's really here because it has that access to Poison Jab, which is going to be really good against the fairies. That's kind of the main reason you would run it though, so I'd sort of recommend the steel types over running the Galerion Slowbro, but it's definitely an option you can run. And then Victini, also something that is traditionally running Confusion, but this time it is actually going to be running the newly buffed Quick Attack. Now, Quick Attack is probably a move that has not been recommended for a meta like ever, and the Psychic Cup is really bringing a lot of these wacky movesets to light, but Quick Attack really does let it get to its charge moves relatively fast with its new energy buff, and it really lets you get to those V creates, which can be really spammy, really damaging. They do debuff yourself, so it's something that some players will sort of gravitate towards with their playstyles a little bit more than others, but it's definitely a strong Pokemon and is going to be really good, especially with all of the other sort of steals running around that a V create will absolutely destroy. So Victini also going to be a very big Pokemon in this meta. Galerion Rapidash is going to be running the brand new Fairy Wind to get to those charge moves really quick. Just a little bit better than Psycho Cut when Psycho Cut is being resisted. At least Fairy Wind, you get to do super effective damage to Malamar and Medicham, and the odd Latios that might be running around. And then Gardevoir is just charm, all the way charm. And so obviously that's going to be really good against Medicham and Malamar, but also it's going to be good against most of the meta that doesn't have that steel typing that is resisting the charm. So look, it's charm. Everyone knows how charm works in Go Battle League. It can do a lot of damage, so that's pretty much the same role it is in here. Alolan Raichu, who's sort of the oddball of that main four there, generally loses to the Medicham and the Malamar. Malamar getting that spammy foul play through, and Medicham just being a bit too tanky. And then generally does beat most of those Pokemon in the bottom left. There is a lot of potential for them to sort of fight back, but Raichu has a pretty decent time, especially if it can land the Wild Charge in the right spot. There's no line between Alolan Raichu and the Fairies, and that is just because Gardevoir can just charm its way through Alolan Raichu, whereas Galerion Rapidash is not really able to do that as well. And Alolan Raichu generally comes out on top. So let's talk about these side picks. First off, there is that Latios who has access to Dragon Breath. Dragon Breath is usually a move that is really strong, but in this particular meta, because there's a lot of fairies and a lot of steals that are sort of the centralizing part of the meta, they don't care about dragons as much. So I sort of feel like Latios is probably going to get pushed to the side. Hypno and Mewtwo both have access to Shadow Ball. That is also a really strong move against basically all of the meta. But, and that's Shadow Mewtwo, by the way, because I don't think you can get a regular one in Great League at this point. But essentially, you're only going to get to Shadow Ball once, most likely, and it might get shielded. So, like, they're not awesome picks. I feel like those Pokemon are better. But if you do want to run those sorts of Pokemon, if you want to, do some spice with Shadow Mewtwo, it is definitely an option that you can go for, especially with Psycho Cut rather than Confusion, just because it does charge up the energy a little bit faster. And again, Confusion is not a move that you want to be running in this cup, essentially. Crysalia, another one that you'd want to be running Psycho Cut on, and is kind of just here for the bulk factor. Like, I feel like there's nothing much that Crysalia is doing awesome. It has access to Moonblast, so it can do that big fairy damage to Malamar and Medicham, but other than that, it's kind of just like, I feel like I've seen a lot of people talking hype about it, but I'm not as on board with Crysalia, but it is really bulky, which can really just force you through a lot of matchups. You can just, if you go straight Grass Knot on a Alolan Raichu, you're actually going to do pretty well, so maybe that's a way to go, Crysalia, for those people who like to play with a little bit more bulk. Delphox has access to some fire, fast move coverage, which can be good up against those steel types, especially. It's a little bit more specialized, and it's a really squishy Pokemon, so I wouldn't recommend it, but it is something that you can definitely run. A Rangaroo is one that is, unfortunately, it's so close to being able to be good. Unfortunately, it's kind of stuck using Confusion as a fast move, which really holds it back. It has access to Foul Play, so if it had something like Psycho Cut, then it could pretty much be like Malamar, in being a Pokemon that can get to those dark charge moves really fast, but unfortunately, it just doesn't get there that fast. It definitely has them, so it can actually be quite good in this cup in the right position, maybe with a little bit of an energy advantage, but having Confusion really does hold it back. And then there is one more side pick. It's Slowpoke. Slowpoke isn't really good, but I saw it was eligible, and I kind of wanted to put it on the graphic. It has access to Water Gun, so take that, Victini and Delphox, and I guess the steel types. I would think I'd I don't know. I think it would be awesome if people ran Slowpoke. Just throwing that out there into the world. It's pink. It blends into the background and the badge, and it's a cool Pokemon to use in Pokemon Go PvP. But with all of that said, that's sort of my very basic Psychic Cup Meta Simplified infographic. So if you've got any feedback, leave it in the description below. I'm sure I've missed some Pokemon that's just going to destroy the meta. We'll see thumbnails and titles about it all over the place as soon as the cup does start. But let me know what you think, and please let me know that you are going to be running Slowpoke, because I'll appreciate the knowledge that it will be out there. But thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one for future Go Battle League meta stuff, which will be coming out a bit more often than it was in previous Go Battle League seasons, because usually we do Silph Arena content, which, by the way, last video on the channel was the Silph Arena APAC Continental Championships, so definitely worth checking that out if you haven't already, or see some of the best fight it out. But I think next week or the week after is the Weather Cup, so I'm intending to make a meta guide about that one as well, so subscribe for that. And yeah, thanks to my patrons and supporters. Well, I was gonna say the old thing, and YouTube members. Brand new graphic. Woo! Wow, it looks so good. I've put so much time and effort into this graphic. I love you guys. And yeah, check out some other videos over there. There's the Continentals, and there's some other video down there. I don't know what it is. It could be anything. I'm just gonna make YouTube recommend you a video. I don't know. Maybe it's... I don't even know. But like and subscribe. Catch you on the flip-flop.